Kicking off Business Matters, prospective home buyers are feeling unsure about making a down payment. Bank of America polled 2,000 people and 60% said they could not tell whether it was a good time to buy a home or not. This number has climbed since 2023 when it was just under 50%. Head of Consumer Lending of BOA said volatile interest rates and elevated home prices have fueled uncertainty. This has resulted in a sluggish start to the spring buying season, but the survey also showed that more than half of prospective buyers felt that the market was better now than a year ago. A Zillow senior economist confirmed that buyers actually had more options and better affordability last month compared to April last year. An Elon Musk-owned xAI has partnered with Telegram for valuable data to train its AI models. The startup will pay $300 million to deploy its Grok chatbot on the messaging app. During the one-year deal, xAI will tap into Telegram's more than 1 billion users to sharpen its competitive edge in the AI market. Telegram's founder explained on X that xAI will also give the company half of any subscription sales made through the messaging app. And Switzerland has set its sights on strengthening bilateral relations with the U.S. The Swiss government announced that it has agreed on a draft negotiation mandate on trade and economic matters. This will be sent to Parliament's foreign policy committees and the cantons. Switzerland has been working to reduce impacts from U.S. tariffs, which were initially set at 31%. The Swiss government said it is committed to preserving and, if possible, improving access to the U.S. market. And the U.S. will have veto power over key decisions relating to U.S. steel. A U.S. lawmaker said that's part of a deal with Nippon Steel. Here are the details.
Washington will have the power to veto big decisions at U.S. Steel after it is taken over by Nippon Steel. That's according to Republican Senator David McCormick of Pennsylvania, where the U.S. firm is based. He says the details are laid out in a national security agreement that the two firms will sign as part of the deal. That reportedly includes a so-called golden share, giving the U.S. a veto over major decisions, including any big cut to production. It wasn't immediately clear if this is a new part of the deal going beyond pledges already made by the two companies. But the comments come shortly after Trump said that the U.S. would stay in charge.
It'll be controlled by the United States, otherwise I wouldn't make the deal. I went to the unions, to all of the local unions, they all wanted it.
The president is now expected to address the issue in a rally at a U.S. steel plant in Pittsburgh later in the week. On Tuesday, investors appeared confident that the deal would soon close, with U.S. Steel shares gaining almost 2%. However, Nippon Steel shares were down around 1% in early trade Wednesday. Japan's top steelmaker has been trying to seal a $14.9 billion bid for U.S. Steel since 2023. Trump had previously seemed to oppose the takeover, but appeared to give it his blessing in a social media post last week. He calls the deal an investment resulting in partial ownership and says it will create at least 70,000 jobs.
President Trump said the government will continue to back Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac even if the mortgage giants are taken public. Trump said on Truth Social, quote, "I am working on taking these amazing companies public, but I want to be clear, the U.S. government will keep its implicit guarantees, and I will stay strong in my position on overseeing them as president." The private companies have been under government control since the 2008 financial crisis. The two firms will help keep the U.S. housing market stable by ensuring there is enough money available for home loans. Trump plans to talk with top officials, including the Treasury Secretary, Commerce Secretary, and the head of the housing agency, before making a final decision on making the company public. Jeep SUV and Ram pickup truck sellers are pinning their hopes on the new Stellantis CEO Antonio Filosa. That's to turn around months of disappointing sales and weakening trust. The 51-year-old Italian national was named today to run the global automaker. He is already familiar with its U.S.-based dealers from his time as Chief Operating Officer of the Americas. The former Stellantis National Dealer Council chairman said Filosa knows what he's doing and has a manufacturing and quality background. The turnaround after the departure of the previous CEO, Carlos Tavares, has been slow. He abruptly quit in December. First quarter net revenues fell 14% year over year globally and were down 25% in North America. Shipments in the region also faltered. The general manager of Extreme Dodge Chrysler Jeep dealership in Jackson, Michigan, called Fellosa's appointment the right decision. And companies are warning investors about the risks of becoming the next target of consumer boycotts from both the political right and left. With annual regulatory filings, corporate America is already required to disclose various risks to their businesses. Now, an increasing number of corporations are advising investors about customer and legal backlash to diversity, equity, and inclusion policies and environmental, social, and governance initiatives. Companies including Walmart, Target, and Home Depot, and Corona parent Constellation Brands are giving notice of the risks of rolling back these programs. Corporate governance and risk management researchers say the companies are now adding new risk disclosures. European companies are cutting costs and scaling back investment plans in China. This is due to the slowing economy and fierce competition that's driving down prices. This was revealed in the Business Confidence Survey 2025 released by the European Union Chamber of Commerce in China. China's economy has been hobbled by a prolonged real estate crisis that has hurt consumer spending. This is on top of heavy investments in targeted industries, often from the government, which has led to overcapacity. This has resulted in fierce price wars and a push into overseas markets. The EU Chamber explained that there is a perception that benefits of bilateral trade and investment are not being distributed equally. And to navigate tariff uncertainty, the top department store operator in the U.S. has cut its annual profit forecast. During a post-earnings call, Macy CEO Tony Spring explained that it has been increasingly prices selectively to soften the hit from tariffs. The company is also diversifying where it gets its products. At the end of last fiscal year, about 20% of Macy's products from China. At the same time, Macy's topped most performance expectations for the first 3 months of the year and maintained its annual sales forecast. And Wall Street and Main Street are split in their view of America's future and its assets. Last month, the largest number of global fund managers on record reported they intend to decrease their holdings of U.S. stocks. That's according to a Bank of America survey. Yet retail investors are giving stocks a big lift. Those individuals investing their own money have steadily scooped up U.S. stocks this year, including taking advantage of the steep market downturn in early April, buying while stocks were relatively cheap. Whether small-scale investors or deep-pocketed institutions come out on top is yet to be seen. And SpaceX's Starship rocket roared into space from Texas yesterday, but it spun out of control about halfway through its flight without achieving some of its most important testing goals. Here are the details.
Its last 2 launches ended in huge explosions, scattering debris across the Caribbean. On Tuesday, SpaceX's giant Starship at least did somewhat better. A 9th test flight saw the rocket roar into space without blowing up, but then things started to go wrong. After separating from the Starship, the booster section lost contact with operators and plunged into the sea. The company had planned for it to make a controlled splashdown. Meanwhile, the Starship continued into space, but began to spin uncontrollably. It also failed to deploy 8 mock satellites in a test of its payload dispenser. A SpaceX staffer said the test was not looking great, but said the company had still achieved many of its objectives for the launch. In a post on X, boss Elon Musk said there was a lot of good data to review. The Starship is key to his goal of developing a reusable launch system that can take humans to the Moon and Mars. Musk also sees Starship as eventually replacing SpaceX's Falcon 9 rockets, which dominate the market for satellite launches. Now he's unlikely to be daunted by the latest less-than-total success. SpaceX is built on a strategy of aggressive flight testing. It pushes its spacecraft to the point of failure, then works on improvements through a process of repetition. The firm says the Starship models that have flown this year already feature huge upgrades over earlier iterations.
A peek into the economic health of American households through the Federal Reserve's annual survey. About 12,000 people were polled in October. 73% of them said they're doing at least okay economically. That's about the same as the year before, but still below a recent high from 2021. There are divisions among demographic groups, though. The vast majority, 87% of those with college degrees, said they're doing okay, but that number dropped to less than 50% among those with less than a high school diploma. And passengers who like to fly United will have to arrive at the airport earlier than before. The airline wants passengers checked in 45 minutes before a domestic flight takes off. Previously, passengers without checked bags could arrive 30 minutes before departure. This new policy will take effect June 3rd. The new check-in policy will align with the airline's checked baggage deadline. That is also 45 minutes before a plane takes off. And for the third consecutive month, YouTube has remained at the top of the Nielsen chart that measures TV viewing time. What does this mean for content creators and traditional TV programming? NTD's Sean Marshall takes a look.
Why is YouTube beating out the competition for television view time? For 3 consecutive months, YouTube has maintained the largest share of TV viewing among media companies, according to the audience measurement firm Nielsen, above heavy hitters such as the Walt Disney Company, Paramount, NBC, Universal, and Netflix. The media distributor gauge, which reflects total viewing by media distributors across total broadcast, cable, and streaming consumption, found that 12.4% of audiences' time was spent watching YouTube on television. For years, YouTube has been trying to convince advertisers that it's the future of entertainment. According to Hootsuite, YouTube is the second most visited website in the world, the most popular social media platform in the US, the second most popular mobile app worldwide, and the most used mobile app. Since YouTube is owned by Google, many TV watchers get instant access through the Google Play Store on Android-integrated televisions. Companies like Disney are taking notice, as they've recently filed a lawsuit against YouTube for hiring one of their executives in an alleged breach of contract. Media blog Android Police makes a good point, suggesting that Google could easily cut down the power of content creators and open the doors to corporate powers, raising concerns over what could happen when one platform gains too much power. With the creator content category growing quickly, platforms like Ganjing World, which focuses on family-friendly content, may have a promising future. And companies like LinkedIn, which has been growing in content popularity for the professional world, are finding more users in their niche content categories. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
Staples' Easy Button is back and celebrating its 20th anniversary. The retailer's red icon, also known as EB, made its debut in 2005. Its catchphrase, "That was easy," became part of pop culture, and millions of EBs were bought and placed in offices, classrooms, and home offices, presumably for decoration and inspiration. But now EB will be appearing in social feeds, offering insight on a variety of issues, including productivity and day-to-day realities of the workplace. Staples is also offering a free Easy Button for customers who make a minimum $50 purchase from now through June 7th. And U.S. stock indices closed lower today. Investors are processing Federal Reserve meeting minutes and are awaiting earnings reports from NVIDIA and Salesforce. The Fed minutes revealed no major changes, showing the central bank remains cautious in a wait-and-see mode amid inflation and unemployment concerns. NVIDIA's earnings, seen as a key AI indicator, were expected to show strong revenue growth. Dick's Sporting Goods rose after beating earnings estimates. Despite recent volatility, analysts expect the S&P 500, which we see right here, that's just hovering at about 5,800, and it's just dropped just about 0.5% there, to remain near current levels by year end. And that's it for today on Business Matters.